Hello guys, it's Blaz, and I'm starting a new video series regarding a game I've been playing recently called Operation 1. This series is going to be a call-out guide for every current map in the game as well as future ones when they do release. My experience in this game and in any FPS game is I've been playing competitive FPS for a better amount of around 9 years, tops. Mostly Counter-Strike and Siege. And my credentials for this game right now are that I am a top, I want to say, I'll be kind, top 15 player right now, and I'm currently champ. And this video was made with the help of fellow champs that I queue with all in the community, as well as other people who might not be champ, but I always asked for their feedback on if the callouts made sense to even lower ranked players, and they agreed with them as well. So let's get on with the video. I do have some rules in place from the document. For one, callouts were decided over a voice call and were agreed on by multiple high-ranking players. Callouts were optimized for syllables, so you're not saying a tongue twister. If a callout has parentheses, that is a callout that also works but is not the primarily used callout. Some callouts may have special names or player names, which were due to either the location not having an official name in-game, or a player we know commonly being in that location. This callout sheet is free and open source, so you can download copies and make edits if you like. I've queued many times with randoms who just don't have any understanding of what I'm telling them, even though these callouts are widely accepted by most people who are on the game's Discord server. So we're going to start off with the spawns. We call this spawn green spawn. The reason we call this green spawn is because it is on the corner of all the spawns next to green. Next, we have this spawn, which we have chosen as purple spawn. We call this purple and not bar spawn because if we decided that that's green spawn, which is on the second floor, right? Green bedrooms on the second floor. It only makes sense to call this other corner the other second floor, which is purple bedroom. So purple spawn and green spawn. Next, this one should be quite obvious. We call this garage spawn as it's directly in front of a garage. We've chosen to call this one the master spawn, as most commonly people will spawn here to attack master. Sometimes people will spawn here and run through the first floor, but generally people are going to spawn here for the master site so they can come up this ladder and probably get on like this angle where you can see people's heads. Lastly, we have the kitchen spawn, and this right here we chose to call chair because it kind of looks like a chair. We call it the kitchen spawn because it's in front of the kitchen entrance. Now I'm going to go through the basement callouts, and we're going to go from the bottom going up. So we're going to start in basement, first floor, second floor, then attic. Coming from the kitchen spawn, we can go here. This is either called trench or cellar, depends who you're playing with. I call this trench because on Chalet and Siege there's a very similar staircase that goes down the basement called trench. You can call this cellar though, either works. This is what we call the cellar door. Once you're in here, you can call it 90, but you may want to call it trench 90. Otherwise, just call it elbow, as the game calls it elbow. We call this hallway tarp, as there's tarp right here, and tarp has a specific noise in this game, so calling out someone's tarp is a good audio call out as well. Next we have the freezer. We call this side freezer pillar or side pillar. We call this main freezer. We call this room just poker. As you can see on the bottom of my screen, it is called poker. We call this one metal stairs. And right here we have Harry Potter. In future guides regarding the other maps, there are many positions that are directly under the stairs, and if you haven't watched or read Harry Potter, that just shows probably your age, but Harry Potter lived under the stairs. This is the actual 90, so remember to call this corner 90 and not the other one. This is 90 as it's a 90-degree angle. There's a high traffic area, so if you say someone's 90, it usually means like they're holding an angle like this maybe, or maybe they're holding an angle like this. You can say, hey, it's 190. Next we have storage. This area we chose to call pipe, as while this is all called the basement hallway, it's not very great to say someone's basement hallway because most people will think they're in like the middle of the hallway. So we call this pipe because there's a pipe right here and right there. Next we have the other basement stairs, and these are what we actually call basement stairs. I usually call them kitchen though, as I like opening a rotate out of kitchen to get here. Since that's all of the callouts for the basement, I'm going to now do the first floor going up. Right here we have garage, and garage has very simple callouts. Right here is car, of course. We have boiler. I didn't bring rappel, but you can actually rappel up to this position by shooting out this window and rappelling up, and this is a common spawn peak that I do, as well as some others, so we call that top boiler. We call these rafters. This is also rafters, though we usually call this like rafters balcony or top rafters. Next is the main entrance. This is called main hallway. Right here we call this metal hallway, as commonly someone will be playing here on this call out, which is called jail or grate. Either or will work. Most people like spawn peeking the garage spawn from this position, so usually we're calling out that someone is in the metal hallway, as if someone's in the metal hallway, chances are they were playing that position or they plan to go through the metal stairs. So this is metal hallway. This is kitchen hallway up until this door, and once you get through this door, we call this the bar hallway. I know the game says back entrance, but that didn't make much sense to us because that's called the front entrance, though most people will enter through main, but we call this part the bar hallway as it's right next to bar. In bar we have billiards. Some players do like playing billiards. They might be playing prone on billiards like this. This is counter. Some people, again, will be playing tucked up against the counter like this, so when you walk in they shoot. We call this position right here the chassis, as the bomb chassis is usually right here, so you might want to call out, hey, there's someone on a chassis or on bomb. And then right here we have the bar entrance. This is fine to call bar entrance. Now we get into this room. We usually call this just corner or kitchen corner. Either works. Going through kitchen, we're now kitchen entrance. We maintain this call out from the game. It is kitchen entrance. Next, we didn't put this in document. Sometimes people may play fridge, though we don't usually call this out. Right here is where the bomb chassis usually is, as well as the default plant spot, which I'll get to later in the video, all the default and alternate plants. But this is commonly where the chassis is, so we've called this chassis. We've also called this stove, because some players might play here, specifically holding this angle right here as you walk up, so that is now stove. Again, to the center here, we call this area red. You can call it living room, but we tend to call it red, as there's lots of red on the floor. This is also called red, as this is called main entrance, but if you noticed over here, this is the main hallway as well somehow. So we call this main entrance usually, and we don't call that one main. So we've just decided to call this entire first floor part, because of carpets, red. Going up, these are what we have chosen to be the main stairs. And once we're on top of the main stairs, we call this mezz, or mezzanine. Now going into master, we have chest. Some people do like playing up on this chest. Over here we have dresser. Commonly people like playing the dresser position. And of course we have bathroom and master tub. Now these are contextual callouts of course to the site, so if someone's playing in this bathroom, you do want to call out, hey, someone's playing master bathroom. Since there's hatches above both the bathroom tubs, there is a call out for these, so you can give someone a call out when someone drops here, and you can say, hey, someone's on bathroom drop, or like master drop or master tub. All of these work. And of course this is bed, just bed. Bed works. Over here, this area we call guest, as it's called guest hallway. We call this section guest. Up to around this point is where guest cuts off, and up to around, I want to say this point, is where we decided guest ends, and then this is when you start getting into the bedroom hallway. So this area with like the counter's guest. We call this guest pane. The reason we don't call it guest window is because we also refer to this as the mez pane or the main pane, and that is called the garage pane, as garage already has a window that we call garage window, so you can't have two garage windows. We chose to call this flower bathroom, as flower bathroom makes more sense, as this is usually reinforced off and is not really connected to blue. So we call it flower because there's always a flower painting here. So if you're playing in our stack, you'll usually call it, hey, there's one flower bath, and we'll know that there's someone in this bathroom. This also has a tub drop, of course, which is when someone drops the hatch. That is the other tub drop, so flower tub is the call out for that. As you get through here, we're now in the bedroom hall, and this is the other 90. This is bedroom 90. Very high traffic area, people are running through, could be contesting the double doors here, could be contesting the guest pane, even contesting blue slit. Getting into blue, we only really have one call. We do have bedroom with the blue bedroom and then the blue bed. So people like holding this to hold any garage rappel. Next we have the blue closet. We always call it closet because it's generally opened like so to have people freely rotating between both. Maybe you're playing a purple site, you can play this position, rotate, play this position on the same spot. But if you want to be specific, this is blue closet, of course, and as you can see, this one's purple closet. The game is correct with that, and we maintain it. Though we do call this closet drop because it's directly under the hatch. Next is purple, and purple has similar callouts. We have purple bed, and then that's really about it. Sometimes we've called out desk, but not many people play on the desk, so we don't really call for it that much. Next we have back top. We chose to keep this as back top, while these are our corner stairs. Going in, we're now in green, with the green bed. And again, all the beds are contextual to the site, so of course if you're attacking the site, you're probably going to just say bed if this is the bomb site. We also do have chassis, which is right here, so chassis is also another callout for this room. I'll let it be known right here that chassis is a callout that exists on all of the bomb sites, and knowing where the chassis is pretty important, so just keep that in mind. Next we have what we have called the attic stairs. Going up, you are now in what we call mid-attic, because we do not think this is an attic hallway. I don't know why this is the call out in the game, but we've chosen to call this the mid-attic because it is the attic that is in the middle between both main and side attic. We call this position overlook, as it's overlooking the attic stairs. We call this position rat, as many people like sitting in this specific corner, and this is the only corner of its kind in the mid-attic. Next, we have the side attic, and inside attic we have very specific callouts that exist, and these are regarding the corners. So if you've played Siege, you may understand that we like using a number system when there's multiple of the same type of callout. And we decided that from this perspective, going in a clockwise formation, there's 4 corners to call out. We call this S1 in this corner. We call this S2. We call this S3. And we call that S4. And this ensures that no matter where you're standing, it's always going to be the same. We chose going clockwise from this position as it's the most common place both attackers and defenders will be on this site. Because not very frequently are defenders going to be repelled on this window, and not very frequently are defenders going to be up there. So we've decided, coming from mid-attic is the most common, so S1, S2, S3, and S4. And this means that if someone is playing somewhere like up in top ladder, it's still going to be the same as if they were mid-attic for the call. So if you know someone's playing in these corners, that is still S3 and that's still S4. So if you're attacking, you can be like, oh shoot dude, there's one S4, and this is always going to be in this corner. We do call that top ladder, and we just call this under ladder. It's a contextual call out. Not many times is someone going to be playing under here, but if there is, you can just say under ladder. Next we have the main attic, and the main attic has pretty basic callouts. There's only one corner to worry about, and we call these ones left and right breach. These are dependent on where you're standing, so I'll open the main breach, and yes, this is main breach. I'll open main breach, and say I have intel, maybe I've seen someone clipping through the wall here, I can see their leg, I can say, hey, there's one left breach. And this makes sense to everybody on attack, because that means I can kill this person left breach. Right? Now, say I'm a defender retaking site, maybe I'm coming up from attic stairs, and my teammate says, hey, there's one holding left breach. That now means for me, there's one here, to the left of the breach relative to me, as a defender. So these are callouts that are just really super dependent on which side you're on. We do call this attic shelf or main shelf. People do like playing this position a lot, because you do get a pretty deep pixel onto the mid-attic, and you can also hold a head peek onto the main breach. We do call this ladder, or ladder room, and we do call anyone on the ladder, we call it ladder, and we call this ladder drop. This position is not really one that's played, but people commonly drop here a lot out of attic, because maybe site's blue bedroom and they were playing in ladder room, so they want to drop and retake. We say, hey, there's one ladder drop. This is better than just saying, hey, there's one bedroom hallway, because if I get told someone's bedroom hallway, that can mean that they're really anywhere in here, here. But if I know there's one ladder drop, I can just pre-aim it and kill ladder drop very quickly. So having specific callouts like that is very important. Now going out here on the balcony, we do call this green balcony, because generally it's being played for green. Green has a door to it. This is green balcony. We do call this section bar roof, even though it's not directly above the bar site, we do call that the bar roof. Now going under green balcony, this is green dark, as since it's in the shadow of green balcony it is dark, so hence green dark. Another outside call out is we do call that attic balcony, as it's the main balcony people are spawn peeking on, and we call that one mid balcony. Next, we have master balcony and master dark. We do call these scaffolding. Very rarely is someone ever on this position, but if you do need to call it out, it is called scaffolding. We call this the blue roof, and right about here at this halfway mark, we call this the purple roof. Commonly, more people are going to say blue roof, as that's usually where someone's playing because they want to drop the hatch into blue closet. We call this the garage roof, of course. And this is, of course, where we can say, hey, there's one playing blue slit off of blue bed, or we can say, hey, there's one on the garage pane playing a spawn peek, right? And again, we specify that it's the pane because the same type of window as we can see on the other side, that's the mez pane, and we call this one garage window already. So we're not trying to say, hey, he's on the top garage window or the bottom garage window. One's garage window, one's garage pane. There's the difference. Next, I'm going to get into the default plant spots, and these spots are going to be demonstrated with the mute jammer. So the default plant spot is usually right behind that car. I'm going to run out so I don't capture this point. Another default plant spot is right by the chassis, directly under right here. Next we have kitchen, and a very common kitchen default plant goes to plant in this corner right here, as this is right pressed up against the chassis and you can very safely plant right here. So if someone is planting default, that usually means right here, as they're behind the chassis and cannot get shot. This is a very easy to defend spot. Next we have bar. Bar's default plant is quite simple. Most people will run with a riot shield, turn around, and start planting, not there, sorry, but they'll start planting right here. We call this a default plant because usually once they're done, they just run out. And you can hold a pretty easy pixel peek on this from outside, or you can play with the C4 and toss it in there when you hear them defusing. The alternate plant spot that I've seen is sometimes you get control of bar from this angle, so people will go behind chassis and plant here. You can either call out chassis or alternate plant. So it's pretty hard to find a default freezer plant, as not many people plant in freezer. So usually we'll plant on this door right here, on the edge, or if we get in through control like this, pretty common plant spot is planting pressed up right here, because that's, if this was the freezer site, usually players are reinforcing these walls off, and then we have someone watching this double. So this is not a bad alternate plant to just plant right here on the floor and then hold the retake from here. So now going to master, the default plant should be pretty obvious, but you really would want to just plant on the edge of the store because visually you're partially blocked by the bookshelf. And then when you're done, you can play a really good post plant from outside where you can play pretty far back and shoot anyone trying to defuse. Then the other alternate plant and my current default plant when I'm playing is I usually like spawning on garage spawn, going up the scaffolding, taking main attic, running all the way across, dropping into the master hatch, and then I really like planting just directly on this door, given I am playing with the shield usually on this position, so they can't really take it unless they get through me, and I can also just fire off right here from safety without any sight lines because this is usually reinforced. So generally I do like planting on this door as well. The other alternate plant is planting behind the dresser. This is probably the worst plant though, as you have no real safe way to escape because you're running in front of this door that's open to guest, as well as any of the possible vert they could be playing, given all of these can be played off with vert. One of the most common is holding vert from up here, like so. This is usually what my stack and I do actually, is holding this plant as well as holding the master slit, as you can aim through a pixel pick on master slit and kill people on it. The default plant for blue is usually dropping a hatch and just planting here, as this gives you a great post plant where the attack can hold a blue slit and shoot people who are trying to defuse. You take bathroom control. Usually the default plant is playing tucked in this corner and planting, as they have to swing you or they have to do closet, and usually you have someone playing blue slit anyways who's going to shoot whoever comes through closet, so this is the alternate plant. The default plant for purple bedroom is usually on this window, as most people will like to repel on this window and then plant right here. This works great. Another one is coming through the bar roof, as you can actually vault through this window from here, and most people will go over and tuck. This is the alternate plant, and vert can be played on it so that they cannot defuse it. Next we have green, and green's plant is usually on this door. In my opinion, this is the best place you can plant it. It's usually like right here, I'd say, as you can then jump down and hold a pretty good post plant, as well as a very good vert onto the diffuser, as this whole entire floor is destructible. So if you're able to do this, they just cannot defuse now. This is probably one of my favorite post plant positions to play in the entire map. The alternate plant for this room is on top of the bed. I know lots of people like planting on top of the bed like so. I don't really suggest this as it's very hard to defend. You can have people play on the balcony here as well, but it's just usually a bit harder to get it down because you do have to run opening yourself up to back top and then getting here, whereas if you just plant like this, you're not very exposed to back top as much, and you don't create a very easy way to kill you because you should have teammates that are playing around guest, holding some type of angle on them, some type of cross. So planting here is the default plant we decided on. The default plant for the main attic is quite simple. Chassis is usually right here, so we like to turtle plant by planting in this corner, and then you can run back out the breach you just opened and hold a pretty decent pixel onto the plant by going up on the roof and holding this angle. The only other alternate plant we could think of is when you go behind this bookshelf. Maybe you took ladder control. This is not a bad plant. Lastly, in the side attic, the best default plant you could probably go for is planting on the top of the ladder right here. And this makes it so you have a pretty good default plant that you can just pretty safely hold this. It's very hard for them to fight you. You can even rappel on this balcony if you wanted and hold a really good pixel onto them coming up the ladder. This concludes all of the callouts for the map Cabot. I do plan to make 2 more videos regarding Mall and Derelict, which will be on the way soon. Start on Cabin because it's probably a map that people are playing the most right now. I don't know if it's just the RNG on the game or not, but Cabin is probably the most played. We do plan to make callout sheets for every single map, and leaving one in the description of each video. Speaking of that, a link to the Cabin callout sheet document will be provided in the link below, and is the basis for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on any other video of mine you'd like to watch.